You pick up your phone. You didn't decide to. Your thumb just moved. The screen lights up before your brain even catches up with your hand. You tell yourself you're checking for something important. But the real answer is far stranger. This isn't a habit. It isn't willpower. It's a machine running inside your skull that is millions of years older than the phone in your hand. And it was never built for this. Your brain has a single job above all others. Find the next reward. Find it fast. Find it before you starve, before you freeze, before something eats you. For almost the entire span of human history, rewards were rare and hard to get. A ripe fruit, a successful hunt, a friendly face after days alone. Your brain evolved a chemical signal to make sure you never stopped looking, and that signal is dopamine. Here's the part almost nobody understands. Dopamine isn't the chemical of pleasure, it's the chemical of pursuit. In the 1990s, neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz ran a series of experiments on monkeys that changed how we think about the brain forever. He expected dopamine to spike when the monkeys received a reward, like a squirt of juice. It did, at first. But the moment the monkeys learned to predict the juice was coming, the dopamine stopped firing at the reward itself. It fired earlier, at the cue, at the anticipation. The wanting, not the having. Your phone is built entirely out of that discovery. Think about the sound your phone makes, the buzz in your pocket, the little red circle with a number inside it. None of those things are the reward. They're the cue. They're the moment your brain lights up, not because you got something good, but because you might. And might is far more powerful than did. This is where the story gets stranger still. Decades before smartphones existed, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner ran a very different experiment. He put pigeons in a box with a lever. Sometimes pressing the lever released food. Sometimes it didn't. When food came every single time, the pigeons pressed calmly, almost lazily. But when the reward was random, unpredictable, sometimes yes and sometimes no, the pigeons pressed the lever obsessively. Hundreds of times. Thousands. They couldn't stop. Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, and it remains to this day the single most addictive reward pattern ever discovered. Now open your phone. Every time you refresh your feed, you're pulling that lever. Sometimes there's nothing new. Sometimes there's a message that makes your chest tighten with excitement. You never know which one is coming. That uncertainty isn't a flaw in the design. It is the design. Why does this work on you specifically? Because your ancestors who ignored uncertain signals didn't survive as often as the ones who investigated every rustle in the grass. A sound that might be danger, or might be food, or might be nothing. The ones who checked lived longer. The ones who got bored and stopped checking sometimes didn't. You are descended, generation after generation, from the checkers, not the ignorers. Researcher Natasha Schüll spent over a decade studying something that looks almost nothing like a phone on the surface, but works on the exact same principle underneath: the slot machine. In her research inside casinos, she found that machine designers use a term for the state players enter when they're completely absorbed in the pulling and pressing. They call it the machine zone. Players aren't chasing a jackpot anymore. They're chasing the rhythm itself. The reaching, the pulling, the small flicker of maybe. Sound familiar? Your phone was engineered by people who studied exactly this. The pull to refresh gesture on your social media feed wasn't inspired by convenience. It was modeled deliberately after the mechanical pull of a slot machine lever. Here's the twist that should genuinely unsettle you. You think you're seeking information, connection, news, something useful, but your brain doesn't actually care what's behind the notification. It only cares about the gap between not knowing and knowing. Psychologists call this the information gap, and it can fire your dopamine system just as hard for a meaningless notification as for a message from someone you love. Which means the app doesn't need to give you anything valuable at all. It only needs to make you wonder. And here's the part that connects all the way back to the savannah. Your ancestors lived in small groups of maybe 50 to 150 people. Every face mattered. Every social signal, a raised eyebrow, a whisper, a person suddenly not speaking to you, carried enormous weight because your survival depended on your standing in the group. Losing social status could mean losing protection, food, even a mate. Your brain still runs that same program. It just runs it on a phone that connects you, instead of to 150 people, to hundreds of millions. Every like is a tiny signal of social standing. Every follower count is a tribe you're being ranked inside of. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a stranger's thumbs up on a photo and a caveman nodding approval at your hunt. It reads both the exact same way: acceptance, safety, belonging. So when you feel that small, anxious pull to check, to refresh, to see if anyone responded, you're not being weak. You're being extremely good at being human. You are running software optimized over 2 million years for scarcity, uncertainty, and social survival. And it has been placed inside an environment engineered by some of the smartest people alive to exploit precisely those instincts endlessly, for free, all day, every day. There is no ancient equivalent of infinite scroll. There was no equivalent ever of a feed that never runs out. Your ancestors foraged until the food ran out, until the horizon gave no more signals to check. Then they rested. Your phone removed the running out. It simply never ends, and neither, it seems, does the checking. Knowing this doesn't make the pull disappear, but it does something almost as powerful. It turns an invisible force into a visible one. The next time your hand reaches for your phone before your mind even asks why, you'll recognize what's actually happening. Not weakness, not failure, just an ancient survival circuit, lighting up exactly the way it was built to, inside a world it was never designed for. You pick up your phone. Your thumb moves before your brain catches up. But now you know why, and that single sentence, once invisible, has just become the strangest kind of power you can have over your own mind.